Hey, good afternoon, and welcome to the next webinar in the TM Group's Dynamics GP to Dynamics 365 Business Central webinar series. Today, we want to talk about payroll and human resources, and who doesn't love payroll, right? Dynamics GP has long had a strong core payroll processing solution with some limited HR functionality. GP HR is it's nice to take some of the manual documentation out of the paper files and include it into our payroll solution, but as you probably know, it's a far cry from a true HRIS solution. Typically, we have to bundle a number of third-party to get a complete solution. Dynamics 365 Business Central does not have its own native payroll or HR solution. Fortunately, there are some really good options from a couple of companies we have known in the Dynamics channel for a very long time. If there's any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat, and we'll address those as we see those pop up in the chat. But let me start by telling you a little bit about myself. I'm Christopher Tepper. I joined the TM Group back in 1997. Prior to TM Group, I spent 5 years at a CPA firm here in Grand Rapids, where I live. I did 2 years in tax and 1 in audit before moving on to their what we called MIS department. And I began supporting accounting software packages back then. In 1997, when I joined TM, I had a wife, 9-month-old daughter, and 1 dog. Fortunately, I have the same wife, and now we have 4 kids and 2 dogs. So a lot's changed in what seems like a blink. So I'm coming up on 25 years with TM Group this year. I have supported GP, including the GP Payroll and HR, for about 12 years before moving over to the sales side, where I was able to use all that product knowledge and experience to help clients evaluate, select, and design solutions to help meet their goals. The thing I enjoy most about my job is working closely with clients to help them find solutions to their business challenges, which is something I was finally able to focus on almost exclusively when I switched from new business development to working with our existing clients full-time starting in 2019. I've long been a fan of GP Payroll. Actually, at one point, Microsoft informed us that we had one of the largest install bases of GP Payroll. As you know, times are changing. Clients are looking for more robust HR and payroll solutions. The reporting and compliance landscape's constantly changing. And we need products from companies that specialize in HR and payroll. And these cloud solutions are particularly attractive because the publisher can quickly make updates to tax rate, changes to forms, regulatory changes, etc., and roll it out to everyone without requiring the client or TM group to install an update, upgrade, service pack, all those things that we're also fond of. So the updates are much more seamless and efficient with the more modern cloud-based solutions. So before we talk about those, let's just briefly take a step back and look at the history of payroll in Great Plains. I pulled an old Great Plains logo, making me feel a little nostalgic. I don't know how many of you still remember this logo, but Dynamics GP originally had a core payroll module, and it used to be priced by number of employees. So it was a separate module that they charged for, and it was priced by number of employees. There's like 0 to 100, 101 to 250, 250 to 500, things like that. HR package was originally written by a third-party company, which Great Plains eventually purchased the code and added it to their price list. And then along the way, as you probably know, Microsoft acquired Great Plains in 2001. And not too long after, they started changing the licensing structure some. And we went through a couple of different changes. We went from a more modular-based approach, where every module, GL, AP, AR, payroll, were all purchased separately, to something they called business ready licensing, or BRL, which was a more bundled approach. There were a couple of different levels, which included more modules with the advanced than you got with the standard at a lower price point, but payroll was still purchased separately. Then a big change came with GP 2013 and what they called perpetual licensing. And that's the first time they started bundling payroll in with the standard, what they called starter pack. Standard payroll and HR that came with the starter pack, and for as many users as you had, or as many employees as you had. And that was enough for a lot of organizations. But they also offered an extended HR and payroll pack with additional functionality at an additional price. A lot of this advanced functionality was actually written by a third-party company called Integrity Data. Microsoft just recently announced that they're spinning these advanced HR and payroll modules back to Integrity Data as of March 1st this year. Along with GP Payroll, there's been a couple of different online portal options over the years. They used to call it Business Portal. Business Portal had an employee portal component, But as you may be aware, the business portal product for Microsoft has kind of fizzled, and they've relied on third-party companies as well to manage that because it wasn't really widely adopted because it was cumbersome and costly for smaller companies to host and maintain their own portal, which is how we handled business portal back in the day. So because of that, companies like GreenShades, another longtime provider for Dynamics, they developed an employee portal or employee portal products that were integrated to GP. One thing we noticed over the years, it became pretty clear that Microsoft would continue to provide the core payroll and HR functionality, but rely heavily on their ISV or third-party partners like Integrity Data and GreenShades to provide additional functionality. Key examples are electronic filing, the employee portals we just talked about, Affordable Care Act tracking and reporting. They provided some basic functionality, but really to handle those well required a third party. So it's not really a surprise then that with their next generation product, their cloud-based product called Dynamics 365, it does not have its own payroll or HR module. I think Microsoft wants to focus on the core financials and leave the human resource and payroll functions to companies that specialize and focus in that area, which is actually a good thing for us. With today's complexity, the filing requirements, legislative changes, we really want a company that is dedicated to the ever-changing payroll and HR environment. So with Business Central, what are some of our options? Of course, you can always choose to outsource your payroll and move to a payroll service, such as ADP, Paychex, Paycor, etc. These companies are great, and many clients are happy to offload the payroll processing and filing to a service. These products, many of them have already pre-built integrations to Dynamics 365. ADP, for instance, has a connector in the Microsoft App Source to integrate the payroll entries to Dynamics 365 Business Central. If there's not a pre-built connector, you can always use an integration tool such as Smart Connect to automate or bring information into Dynamics 365 from an outside payroll processor, if that's what you want to do. So outsourcing is always an option, but we have found with outsourcing, typically you're still doing a lot of the day-to-day management and maintenance of the employees and the payroll information, and the processor just cuts the checks or direct deposit. I'm starting to date myself here, not too many companies still print payroll checks, and they take care of the tax filings for you. However, if you would rather keep payroll in-house, we have a couple of really good integrated payroll solutions from GreenShades and Integrity Data. As we discussed in the previous slide, both these companies have been key Dynamics payroll and HR partners for many years. Actually, I first worked with GreenShades about 24 years ago when I had a couple of GP clients that were large temporary staffing agencies with a lot of employees, a lot of W-2s, and they needed to file magnetic media, which back then, 20 plus years ago, we had to download the W-2 information to a floppy disk and then stick it in the mail and send it to the government. Originally, GP did not have that capability, and you had to purchase federal magnetic media from GreenShades. So that's kind of how far back GreenShades goes. Over the years, they expanded their portfolio of payroll and HR products to include all kinds of federal, state, local, electronic filing. They added an employee self-service portal and then a tax service, which was huge for many years. When I'd ask clients why they chose to outsource payroll, the number one reason was they didn't want to deal with the taxes. So thankfully, GreenShades developed a tax service product for GP. Integrity Data has also been instrumental in providing solutions and filling gaps for GP payroll. They also developed a tax filing service. They have some really nice payroll add-ons like comprehensive leave manager, enhanced retirement plans, negative payroll transactions, negative deductions for payroll. There's a payroll what-if calculator, which is handy, mid-pay period rate changes, a lot of really nice little add-ons for GP. It's natural that they would both round out payroll and HR suite and provide an all-in-one payroll and HR solution, including the payroll processing piece, and make those available for Dynamics 365 Business Central, which is where a number of the existing Dynamics on-premise customers like GP, SL are moving going forward. So let's take a little closer look at what GreenShades and Integrity Data have to offer. GreenShades, from their website, their tagline here is to empower payroll, tax, and HR solutions that empower workers Since 2002, they've been providing exceptional automated payroll tax reporting, employee engagement, comprehensive compliance to mid-size employers across North America. Today, through their cloud-based product, they enable your organization to a whole new level. So what are some of the components of the GreenShades solution? One thing, a big thing to point out is that it's a cloud-hosted solution. It's a self-running solution. So it does not require a back-end financial solution. It runs on its own, and it has a connector that synchronizes the data between Dynamics 365 Business Central and their environment. They include an integrated payroll, so you can do all your payroll processing. I mentioned they have tax and compliance services to layer on top of that. A nice thing about the tax services is that it's not like an outsourced provider where they take the withholding and hold on to it until it's time to pay and then submit it to the government. GreenShades actually calculates and provides that to you in a dashboard of what's due when. You click on a link to see how it came up with the calculation, and you have an opportunity to review and approve it. And then once you approve it, it handles the filing and can even transmit the funds on your behalf to the governmental agency. So it's strictly going from you to the government, they're not holding it for a period of time and then submitting it. As I mentioned before, they kind of got their start with year-end filing, so they're terrific with all the year-end filing, electronic filing. They have fulfillment services for W-2s and 1095-Cs. If employees don't accept those electronically, they can mail out the ones that weren't received electronically. They have a benefits management solution with online, open enrollment, those kinds of things. They have time entry, so there's a web time entry capability, as well as employee self-service. So employees, they have a portal where employees can go in and view their check stubs and request changes to their W-4 and I-9s, direct deposits. They do offer some HR capabilities. There's an applicant tracking module through a company called Jazz AR. There's an integration with Jazz HR. They do have full certification and license management capabilities. And another differentiator or an important thing is that they include all the training and support in the monthly subscription. So there's not additional outside services. It's all included in your subscription. So that includes the setup, the install, the training, ongoing support is all bundled in together. So how do those bundles work? These are some examples of the different kinds of bundles they have and what kind of features are included in each bundle. And they're priced by employee, by month, and that's by active employee. They look at a 30-day window or a rolling month to see how many active employees you have, and that's how it's priced. There is a core payroll bundle at a certain price point, and then if you layer on HR, you get additional functionality at a little bit higher price point. They also have the tax service and tax service with HR. So HR Complete would basically be their entire suite of products all rolled into one. And then the time entry is an additional $1 per employee for time entry. So that kind of gives you a high level of how they break things down. And the pricing is anywhere from, I think, like $7 to $13 or $14 an employee, depending on which bundle you choose. Now for integrity data, they take the pain out of people management in Microsoft Dynamics 365 Business Central. Discover the benefits of managing and paying your people with a single unified system. Integrity data is powerful and flexible. You need to maximize efficiency, minimize risk, and empower your team. You'll see here a lot of the bullet points are similar. A key difference for integrity data is it's actually seamlessly embedded within Dynamics 365 Business Central. So if you are a payroll processor, or if you're in Business Central, you may not realize it's a separate product or written by a separate company because it lives within inside of the Dynamics 365 solution. So that's kind of a key difference. And it of course has a full payroll solution embedded within Business Central. It also has the tax and compliance services can handle the year-end filing for the W-2s and 1095Cs and all 1099s, all that good stuff. They also have benefits management and online benefit enrollment. They do have an expense reimbursement piece. So they do have a capability for employees to enter for expense reimbursement and have that go through an approval process. They also have time entry and review, self-service portal. Their recruiting and onboarding and applicant management is inclusive of their product, so they're not integrated to an outside product for that. They also have the certification and license management. So a lot of similarity. Biggest difference is that GreenShades is a solution in and of itself that ties back to Business Central, whereas Integrity Data is actually embedded within Business Central. And then this is how their pricing works. I didn't have an updated graphic, so I crossed out. They don't have the payroll now level any longer as of March 1st. So next week, I just learned. So that's not an option. Either we have the Integrity Data HRP Essentials or the HRP Full Life Cycle for Business Central. They're two different levels. And they handled theirs a little bit differently in that there is a base fee of either $600 or $700, which includes the first 50 employees and one federal ID number, one state. And some of these modules, depending on which bundle you choose. And then there's some add-ons for additional federal IDs or states or locals. Another key difference with Integrity Data versus GreenShades is that they have a more traditional model of software and services. So with GreenShades, the consulting, training, support is all bundled in together with the subscription fee. Integrity Data, there is the subscription, and then any of the installation and training setup is all an additional consulting fee. Allie, are there any questions? I guess I should slow down and see if anybody has any questions.
We don't have any questions, but if you do end up having any questions, feel free to reach out, Christopher and I, once you get this recording, and we'll be happy to answer you.
Yes, thanks, Allie. I hope this presentation was helpful in introducing the two primary HR and payroll solutions for Dynamics 365 Business Central. They're both great products with longstanding Dynamics partners we've been working with for decades. They both provide a lot of functionality and similar functionality. And as I mentioned, a couple of the key differentiators is that GreenShades is hosted outside of Dynamics 365 and syncs the data. Integrity Data is embedded within Business Central. And so the end users may not even realize it's not part of the core product. And then another key consideration is that GreenShades bundles the support in with their fee. There's monthly subscription, whereas services is a separate fee for Integrity Data. If you'd like more information on either product, I do have some PDFs I can send you. We can set up demos and dig into these deeper if it's something you're interested in.